What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 16 of the College Loop Podcast. Just me and Tarr today. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. Tough game to watch tonight for the Tigers, and we're going to talk men's hoops in a minute. Hate Daniel Locke couldn't be with us today. I'm sure his voice is shot, being as active in the jungle as he is, and that's no shade thrown. I want him to enjoy all his time in college, so this is not going to bug me one bit. We'll get to talk some hoops, and then you know what? Auburn fans are probably beating themselves up tonight, justifiably so. There's a lot going on later in the week, and there's really not a ton of reason to not kind of pick it back up and have a positive spin zone, right?
Yep. Daniel was probably having the least amount of fun as all of us. He was at the game tonight. Yesterday, as when this was going to be posted, Auburn lost 79-63 to the unranked Texas A&M Aggies, and lost that 28 game
28
streak that Auburn had at Neville Arena, who A&M also ended it last time as well. A&M just some PEDs get shot up whenever A&M gets onto the court. I think the NCAA should definitely investigate it, because they're always, I don't want to say a bad team, but they're always like a mid-tier team. And for some reason, as soon as they walk through the pearly gates of Neville Arena, they just start shooting lights out, and there was like nothing Auburn could do about it. I mean, Auburn's like the second best 3-point defending team in the country, and where was it tonight?
Texas A&M knocked down 6. They were at one point they were 6 of 8. I think they wanted me 6 of 9 in the first half. Pretty nice little stat line there for you. It's one of those things where it just feels like Buzz Williams. And we talked about this. We did. His teams are just always ready for Bruce Pearl teams. And to their credit, when Texas A&M got up, you have to commend Buzz Williams and his ability to game plan and hold the ball. And it's essentially the same concept as when you're beating the crap out of a team or have a comfortable lead in football, and you just run the football and just chew clock. I mean, it's the equivalent. And A&M needed to play perfect tonight, and I think they played, pretty damn near perfect. And they needed some help from Auburn to not play perfect, and Auburn played the furthest thing from it. And here you are with a bit of a thumping at Neville Arena. And there's a lot of things I wanted to talk about, Dylan, and I know you're probably taking a peek at the rundown. I did throw something in there last minute, my bad, and it doesn't have to do with men's hoops. We'll talk about it a little later on. I completely forgot to plug Jim into the rundown. It was in my mental rundown. I always tell you I have one of those. But we'll get to that later. So, like I said, Auburn fans, there's lots of exciting stuff to talk about and look forward to going forward in this show. Let's just go and state the obvious, Dylan. And you just mentioned it. Texas A&M shot the lights out. And Auburn played horrifically bad. If you just look at the comparative box, Texas A&M shot 47.3% from the field. Auburn shot 43.8%, which feels like that's not that different until you look at the 3-point percentage, 36.8 to 18.8%. And Auburn left 6 buckets and 6 points at the charity stripe. There's just plenty of places to look around and say, this could have gone differently. This could have gone differently. And I don't know that there's a better place to start than talking about. Dylan, I'm confused about the minutes with Katie Johnson. I understand riding with your guy, but I need you to talk to me about where you're at, because I think you're on the same page. Why are these minutes not going to Zep Jasper and Trey Donaldson?
I mean, just looking at the box score, Katie Johnson got 18 minutes, which is 4 minutes less than Zep Jasper, who actually played pretty well tonight and put up double his average points per game. And started off, and he has 2 3-pointers, might I add. That was all of his points, was 2 3-pointers, which we don't see from Zep that much. But Katie Johnson, man, tonight was just, we talk about horrific. I'm back on the put it back in the straight jacket. This was horrendously bad. I can't stand how often he just puts the ball in his arm and drives in with his head down, doesn't know where the basket is, and then he just either throws it up, misses a layup, or he just throws it out of bounds. 3 turnovers from him tonight. It felt like it should have been a whole lot more, just from the amount of times it's happened.
I 100% agree, and I do understand that Zep got more minutes than Katie, but you understand what I'm saying here about delegating that to Zep and Trey Donaldson. That you're on board with that?
Yeah, Katie Johnson should not be getting 18 minutes. I think Trey Donaldson should be getting 12, and Katie Johnson should be getting 6.
And here's one of those moments where Auburn fans like to come at me on the Bird app and think that I don't like Bruce Pearl. That's not, where I stand on BP. He's the right guy. This is one of those moments where Bruce Pearl has been known for being a player's coach who rides with his guys. This is one of those, sometimes it pays off for you, sometimes it doesn't. This is one of those cases where it doesn't. Another one of those cases, let's not put the blame squarely on KD Johnson's shoulders tonight. Let's talk a little bit about Allen Flanigan. This, after a strand of what we considered to be Allen Flanigan's back, and I'm not ready to say he's not now. He's still in there and a valuable piece to this team. But after a strand of very, very good games, Allen Flanigan looked like he was whenever he got the ball, he was afraid he was never going to see it again on a possession. And he took some of the most horrendous shots. I think he had the most piss poor shot selection on this team tonight.
Oh, you were not lying. And it doesn't really help the fact that our main facilitator, Wendell Green, had a pretty bad passing night. Jay Will had a chance at an easy three that he would have made, but he got a bad pass from Wendell, and then it just kind of threw it up. But yeah, Allen Flanigan, he scored the same amount of points he scored last game, but he put up half the stats he did against South Carolina. And just looking back at the South Carolina game, you had one guy who really showed out a little bit, and that was Johan Traor, who we didn't see tonight.
Nowhere to be found.
And you're watching like KD Johnson turn over the ball, which, I mean, yeah, you can't put all the blame on him, but you're watching.
Well, let's not forget Wendell Green Jr. turned the ball over 5 times tonight.
4 times, yes, he did.
I haven't. You haven't 4.
ESPN. If I were to go through the turnovers, Janai Broom had 2, Wendell Green had 4, Simo had 1, Dylan
That's
Cardwell
crazy
had
because
3.
I'm looking at the ESPN stat sheet right now too, and mine says 5. So somewhere in that ballpark.
4 to 5, 4.5.
Sure,
somewhere in there. But it is just a bad overall night for the entire team. There is the only bright spots the fact that Janai Broom and Wendell Green had 16 points each, but then again, they did not have their best games that we've seen all year.
And kind of, I had this kind of bullet point word vomit on our rundown, like I always do, and I know you have to hate reading my rundowns when I write them, and I'm sorry, but Wendell Green can't do it all himself, and there was a point tonight, and in the last 6 minutes where Auburn gave him no other choice. And you can put all the blame in the world on Wendell. You can be hard on Wendell. God knows I'm critical of him, but the kid tried to put the team on his shoulders against an A&M team that was hell-bent and determined that they weren't going to lose and that Auburn was going to play at their pace, which ultimately killed the Tigers. He didn't get help. I know Janai Broom posted 16. I get that. I understand. Almost had a triple-double. I understand that too. But he looked lost. And it's hard to understand and wrap your brain around saying somebody looked lost when they dropped 16 and you're someone of that caliber and Janai's putting in numbers night in, night out. But Dylan, there were so many times where he just got bullied down low. There were so many times when he left his feet too early. And somehow he played probably at an average level, not what we're expecting from Janai Broom. I mean, to his credit too, Dylan Cardwell comes off the bench and then proves to you that you're doing it by yourself. Because Dylan Cardwell played horrifically bad to the point where in the first half, I was sitting there thinking to myself, and I actually texted Will Cruz about this, get him off the floor. When Dylan Cardwell put the ball on the floor and dribbled from the top of the key, I almost lost my wits. I would have lost my wits if Auburn would have been up by 30. It's that kind of just boneheaded and stupid decision making that ultimately killed Auburn tonight. That combined with the fact that there's no 3-point game on this team and no one can shoot. But I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off, Dill. There's just so many things that went wrong. Nothing went right.
I mean, we talked in length on the Auburn Daily Show before the game happened that this was probably some of the easiest forwards that Auburn's going to have to deal with throughout the remainder of the season. And I mean, we were right on the money with that. And little did we know that we were previewing the wrong guard for Texas A&M. We talked about how Wade Taylor was going to be who they had to get through. But that Tyrese Radford, man.
Yeah. Well,
Wade Taylor, he put
Wade
up
Taylor still
15.
dropped 15.
He put up 15, but 15 can be easily ignored by the fact that a guard that was averaging 12 points a game put up
Not
30,
30.
30 points, 9 rebounds, and dude, 2 assists from a guard. He did it all. He out rebounded both of his starting guards or starting forwards.
You're right. We may have missed there, but I don't necessarily think that our matchup keys were wrong. And A&M won the battle of the guards. Just props to them. And then the 1-3-1 killed Auburn yet again. Color me surprised. Let's kind of lead that there, Dylan. I don't want to harp on this too much, but it was important that we talked about it because this is a nice little segue. Auburn's got a lot of stuff to figure out for Saturday.
I read a tweet that said that all of Auburn's losses, they've given up 25 plus to the guard.
That's and you know what? That's tweet's probably 100% correct. I'd be interested to do some deep diving after we get off the pod.
Yeah, what really worries me about one particular player left on Auburn's schedule that we have to play twice.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine who you're talking about, but let's use this as a segue to talk about Auburn's matchup this Saturday, since we're not going to have a show before the game. Today's the last show until Sunday against a middle of the road West Virginia team that's 12-8. They have 2 wins in the conference. They beat Texas Tech tonight 76-61, so kind of handily. That was on the road in Lubbock. Now Texas Tech is pretty dang crummy this year, but also you go in and you beat a team on the road by 15. You don't sneeze at that regardless. And if you look from a breakdown perspective, man, I mean, this is another one of those occasions where you get an opportunity to play against a little softer guard play, but now you got to harp on the forwards, and you're worried after tonight.
I mean, you put it down here. Tigers have to win. I mean, and I don't want to quote you completely, but yeah, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yeah, you have
that's
to win
fine.
this game.
Yeah,
but looking at there's going to be the first. I don't want to say true. Maybe it is a true test for Auburn because it is a SEC Big 12 challenge. So there's going to be a little bit of pressure because you want to have the best record out of the two. But this is going to be a key factor to the gauntlet of the schedule. A lot of your games are away, and you need Auburn to. I mean, tonight was a home game where Auburn's supposed to be invincible, and we played like that. Morgantown has some crazy fans.
Let me go ahead and give you some free Instagram grid content real quick. If Auburn can't go on the road and win in Morgantown against the state of West Virginia right now, and don't get me wrong, this is not a free team. This is not a free win. But if Auburn can't go on the road in Morgantown and win, Tigers may be shit out of luck going down the stretch. And I'm sorry, pardon my French, you know how it is. You can blur that out, whatever the heck you want to do. But is there a better way to say it?
I don't think there is. I mean, I don't think there's a free win left on the schedule in general.
There's absolutely not.
I might be panicking or something about. I don't think that any game left on the Auburn schedule now is a free win, and we need to win over half the games so we don't end up being a lower seed.
I mean, even if you look down the slate of remaining home games, Mike White has Georgia playing better than we've seen Georgia play in 5-6 years. You've got to go to Tuscaloosa. You got to play Bama twice. You got to play Tennessee twice. Once of those in Knoxville. You have to go to Rupp Arena where teams go to die. You're in bad shape right now if you can't get Saturday get right. If you can take care of business Saturday, deliver a thumping, get back next week, and I believe next week's midweek is Georgia. Yes. Yep. And take care of business there. You will be okay. You will be okay. But you got some soul searching to do in the next 48 hours.
Yeah, I don't even know where you begin to start.
And that's top to bottom. It's all the way from BP to the last guy on that bench, the last walk on. And that's not me calling anybody out. That it's just if you want to win in this league, you got to figure it out now. So let's speaking of winning in this league, let's pivot. Unless you, actually no, we have something else to add. Some good news for you Auburn Hoops fans. Aiden Holloway is loving it. Let's pivot here. Let's get lighthearted. What do you say, Dylan?
Yeah, let's start smiling a little bit.
Aiden's loving it. The Garden of Aiden is headed to the McDonald's All-American game. That makes I had a laundry list. Are you looking at the rundown in front of you? If not, don't look at it.
Yes, I am.
Oh man, you cheater! All right, so I'll go ahead and read it out. I was going to see if you could just off the dome name off the McDonald's All Americans, which will make 4 in 3 years. Joining Walker, Bari, and Reef, which is cool. I mean, Walker's kind of a cheat code because he transferred from UNC, but Auburn claims him. He's an Auburn guy. This is a great accolade, great honor. He's going to get to play beside and compete against Bronny James. So that's just like a fun little tidbit. Like this is just a cool recruiting class to be able to talk about that. And you and I talked a little bit about Bronny earlier today. Just that's not relevant to Auburn, but kind of fun, right? And he was in town tonight, so maybe he went and talked to the boys and said, "Yo, hold on, what?" But
Aiden probably watched Katie Johnson and was like, you know what? Maybe I should just throw on the jersey right now.
yeah, you're not wrong. You're so not wrong. But Aiden Holloway is going to be able to compete in the All-American stage, which always makes people turn attention, which means there'll be attention on Auburn next year. Not that we didn't think there would be anyways. That kid's going to be a lot of fun to watch, man. I'm really excited to watch Aiden Holloway. He's going to be a ton of fun. Let's pivot over to women's basketball. That was just a quick little tidbit we need to throw in because that's a great, huge accollade.
Lightens the mood.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think women's hoops can continue to lighten the mood, really. We're going to talk for a second here about Coach Johnny Harris and company looking for their second consecutive win in conference play. And on the road in Lexington, Kentucky. Actually, our good friend Maddie Gonzarowski, team manager for women's hoops, this is our first game she gets to travel for, which is in Lexington. I was like, that's kind of a sweet first travel game, sweet road game, actually. Friend of the program. So they're heading to play in Memorial. They're not playing this one at Rupp. This is a Memorial Coliseum, but they're going to be without Romy Levy on Thursday. Per multiple reports, and this is a team, Kentucky, that's struggling in the SEC. I know Daniel mentioned this past weekend, and I respect, or not past weekend, earlier in the week on the Tuesday episode. And I respect all of his opinions, but mentioned that he thinks that this is maybe not a game that Auburn can win. I do. I really do. I mean, Kentucky's really kind of a bottom feeder in the SEC. I have their the record right in front of me. I think they're 9-10, 11th in the SEC, kind of bottom feeding this rock fight with Auburn. It can be really not pretty, but that's okay. A big conference road win against someone like a Kentucky, regardless of where they're at, brand wise, that's a good win. Getting the ball inside is going to be key. And just like Daniel always says, I would be curious. We always harp on the bigs, Aisha Coulibaly's, and you're gonna be without Romy Levy, but the Carissa Richardsons. I'd be interested to see if Sydney Shaw and Caitlin Duhan can't put on a clinic with honestly a not healthy, honestly, Scott Grayson. This team shoots better from the perimeter than we've seen in years past. So, your thoughts, Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, it always scares me when an Auburn team goes into Lexington. I always feel like no matter what sport it is, that Kentucky blue does something to you. But the key factor of these games, I mean, I'm pretty sure you mentioned it, just give Aisha Coulibaly the ball.
And get out of the way.
Get out of the way. She's like Katie Johnson, but instead of like turning over the ball and missing shots, she makes them all.
I think this could be a really good opportunity for them. I agree. Give AC the ball, but honestly, Scott Grayson, senior leadership, and I think she's going to be first or second team All SEC this year. She's just that good. If they can get her back to 100%, this team can make a little bit of noise in that SEC tournament. We don't think they're an NCAA tournament team, but it would be pretty fun for them to get out of the first round of the SEC tournament and a good step. I think that there's a big weight lifted off all their shoulders now that they've seen one check mark.
I will say the combo between Honesty and Aisha is probably one of the best we've seen in Auburn women's basketball history. I know we've had some good players here.
Recent history for sure.
Yeah, but I can't think of a time that I can remember where Auburn has had two players on the same team that have been that good together.
Well, and if you look, there are other pieces that are coming into their own. I mean, Marshawn Bostic had a great game on Sunday. Sanaya Wells, nobody takes charges in women's college basketball better than Sanaya Wells. Nobody draws a charge better than she does. And that's an underrated skill set. The only problem that this team has, and I was talking about this with Maddie the other day, and she wasn't bashing the girls she works with every day, but her point was there are 3.5 girls that can dribble on this team. One half being Sydney Shaw, just because she's a freshman and needs reps. Sanaya Wells can put the ball on the floor. Obviously, we know honestly Scott Grayson can put the ball on the floor. Marshawn Bostic, it feels like whenever you just need a big layup to go through into the lane, even if the lane's been clogged all day, Marshawn just gets there. And let's not forget, Marshawn's lights out from the free throw line. So if she can get to the stripe, like this game could get crazy. I do think it'll be a rock fight. But if you come out victorious and there's your 2 back-to-back SEC wins, I mean, this team's getting a little confidence. You never know what holds in store when teams come to the Nev. I mean, last year the Nev was where ranked women's basketball teams came to die, which was crazy. But also, I mean, that speaks to the commitment to the brand that Coach Jay's installed.
I would say, in women's basketball, do they do like men's basketball? If you win your conference tournament, do you get an automatic bid? I know
Yes,
it's
it's
probably
the same size field.
yeah, okay. I know it's way out of the realm of possibility because to win the SEC in the tournament, you have to
Beat South Carolina
beat South
and
Carolina
LSU.
and
Did you see?
LSU.
Side note: this is relevant though. Did you see South Carolina sold out their game against LSU? Both teams are going in that game unbeaten. That's literally must-watch television.
The college game day is going there.
They should. That is must-see TV.
That's
And
going to be ridiculous.
I'm going to watch every second of that game. I think that USC will probably still blow out LSU because I think there's a huge talent gap. But that's super cool. I cannot wait to see for a women's basketball game Sandstorm just like lighting up Colonial Life Arena. That was easy for me to say, but that's just gonna be such a cool scene. Anyways, continuing with women's athletics, let's talk a little bit of gymnastics. This is the one I threw in a little late there. I meant to have it, like I said, it was in my head canon. But women's gymnastics is going to be back at the Nev on Friday versus NC State. Reigning co-SEC gymnast of the week, like you said, now to continue a tradition that's uniquely Auburn, Sunisha Lee. This should be a ton of fun. This team's really starting to come into their own. I don't even think we're so far from seeing the best of them this year. Apparently, I read earlier this week, and this is not like me just pulling random crap. This is true. Sunisha Lee rushed her bar routine in preparation so that Auburn fans could see it for the home opener. Like she hadn't thrown that in competition before.
That's holy crap.
In the good sense, it's dumb how good she is at this. For those of you
scary good.
For those of you who have not locked in, excuse me, I'm sorry. If those of you who have not locked in on Auburn Gym while Sunisha Lee's in town, first off, Jeff Grabe has got that team. They're so deep. They're so good. But if you're not watching and you're not locked in, you're watching one of probably, if not one of the greatest female athletes in the history of Auburn. Probably one of the greatest athletes in the history of Auburn. And we had that kind of conversation, like we said, that's coming up soon. But I mean, there's the Bo Jacksons, we know, the Cam Newtons, whatever, sure. The Frank Thomases, who's getting his own statue. But Suni Lee's like in that conversation. Erica Bonner. Like,
I say it, we say it all the time. If Suni Lee wins the national championship before she heads out to win, world championships.
More world championships.
She's going to have a statue outside of Neville Arena.
She's already an individual champion, which it's just mind-boggling how good she is. I just wanted to plug that real quick about gymnastics because, man, this team is humming, and it goes beyond Suni Lee. Like I know that she's always the headliner, she's the clickbait, right? But Darion Goborn, I mean, I can't get over her walking out to God Save the Queen. She is a literal queen. Like, yes, give her crown now. Matter of fact, next time you and I need to buy like those plastic crowns in Party City and just wear them to the meets
or Burger King.
No, we're not doing that.
Get the Whopper.
I've already seen the airplane video. We're not doing the Burger King crown.
Oh God. My brain went straight to the Whopper commercial. You went to okay.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We're not getting canceled. Yeah, I'm glad I was forward thinking there.
I'm glad you the first time in your life you've had internet meme held over me that I completely forgot about.
But you got Darion, you have Sophia Groth, you have Olivia Hollingsworth. I mean, the list goes on and on. Cassie Stevens. This team is just unreal, and we're witnessing greatness.
And last episode we talked about how on the football team the cornerbacks and the secondary are just full of dogs.
Auburn gymnastics. Suni Lee, dogs. Sophia Groth, dog. Darion Goborn, dog. Like it just keeps going on, and the freshmen are elite. Like it's unreal. Let's speaking of freshmen and recent recruits, that's a good segue again, Dylan. I'm about to hand you the torch. Very big weekend for Auburn football coming up. I know that we're going to break this one up into a couple parts. Just give me the bat signal and we'll rock and roll. But the torch is yours for Junior Day this Saturday on the Plains. Huge recruiting weekend. We're out here recruiting.
Do we want to start off for high school recruiting or we start off for the draft? So we got
Ooh,
30.
good point. I'm looking at the clock here. I'm looking at the shot clock. Let's
We
go.
we
Let's
probably
go.
knocked the draft out,
Let's
and then
knock the draft out, and then when we come back, there's a hard freeze warning in Auburn this weekend.
oh yeah. So according to Mel Kiper, who we all know is just a genius when it comes to draft knowledge,
We've always said this.
like Jimmy Clausen, he said that if Jimmy Clausen didn't pan out for the Carolina Panthers, he's going to retire. So apparently, Jimmy Clausen panned out. As a Carolina Panthers fan, I can occur that Jimmy Clausen is one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen play the NFL football. I'm kidding, of course. But this is part of the greatest take Mel Kiper's ever had. Derek Hall might be going in the first round to the Buffalo Bills.
Listen, we've always said that Mel Kiper was the best at evaluating Derek Hall's draft grade.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone better at at grading where Derek Hall is going to go in the NFL draft.
We've always said that. We've always said that.
Yeah, he always gets at least one pick right out of all 32.
That's right.
And I think this one's it.
Well, I mean, we've known for years that he's a Derek Hall expert. So
But with that, I just want to kind of look at other Tigers that could potentially get drafted. I know we're a little further away from the draft day, so expect a whole lot more in-depth recruiting and all that. Or not recruiting, scouting for these players. But like
maybe a little Larck action at Pro Day. Who says no?
I'm with it. So Derek Hall is the headliner for Auburn in the NFL. Followed very closely, probably by Colby Wooden, who I think could be a day 2 guy. I think he is a day 2 guy, barring him getting injured or anything during pro day or college, the NFL Combine. Please God, don't let it happen because he's good. Colby Wooden is really good, and I think he's going to make a team very happy. I think he's going to be one of those sneaky. Auburn always has those guys in the draft that get taken very late who end up popping off later on in their career. I think Colby Wooden is going to be that dude. And I think he might pop off sooner rather than later. Another guy to look at, Tank Bigsby, the running back, who is probably going to be the only offensive player taken in this NFL draft. And I don't think that's a hot take in the slightest because I don't want to get – I'm going to get to the next guy in a second. But, yeah, Tank Bigsby, I think is going to be a sneaky good running back in the NFL. And keep it going. Iku Leota, I think it's going to be more of a day 3 guy. His injury is probably barring it, but I think a good pro day, and he might get invited to the Combine. I feel like Auburn edge rushers always get the invite.
You already knew that if you didn't mention Eku Leota, I was going to jump to the camera, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I put him on the list, and I know I have another guy. I'm gonna save him. I might save him for last, just in spite of you. No, I won't do it. Owen Papo, another guy I think is gonna be a sneaky good pick. Auburn has some dudes that kind of got wasted by a bad coaching staff, who I think are two, but I feel like are really going to pan out well if they get the right coaching. Owen Papo and Colby Wooden I don't say Colby Wooden, Iku Leota are probably those 2 guys that can put in the same boat, underutilized by the coaches. Injury kind of hurt them as well, but I think with a good coaching staff in the NFL, they'll pop off fairly nicely.
And we've talked a little bit about, and Zach Blackerby has mentioned to me, we've had really cool conversations about, like, Owen Papo might just be a really big safety.
Yeah, he's going to be a hit stick.
Like, no, he might just be like a big safety. He's a little undersized to be playing a linebacker. You definitely can't put him in the middle. And his skill set and his speed, you almost wonder, like, what if an NFL team looks and it's like licking their chops? It's like, this guy could play safety. Like, I could see that.
He's like an Isaiah Simmons, but
yes, great comp.
And the last guy who has officially declared for the NFL draft, I have a couple of guys that could probably see get drafted if they have a decent pro day or whatnot. Shedrick Jackson has declared for the NFL draft. We talked about this not a few episodes ago, but a lot of episodes ago. But I think out of the people who have declared, I think he is the least likely to get picked up. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Potentially could be drafted, could be drafted, signed, or if they have a good pro day. And John Samuel Schenker, maybe?
I think so. I think he's got the film. He's a good route runner, solid hands. That's one of those guys that you look and you're like, maybe someone his size leaves a lot to be desired. Yeah. But you never know. I mean, if you could lean him down a little bit, I guess he could play out of the slot. Sort of. Sometimes like a Will Hastings-esque kind of height frame.
He can also be really good in the XFL, USFL, or
XFL legend John Samuel Schenker. Book it.
Or playing the minor leagues a little bit in baseball. He's a baseball guy. Big baseball guy.
Big baseball guy. Unfortunately, he discontinued his baseball career prior to the College World Series run this past year. But to each their own.
And the last guy I have on here it's a position you don't really hear a lot about, a position that deserves a whole lot more respect, because Auburn might be long snapper U. Because if you don't know, Auburn has a perennial Pro Bowler in the NFL at long snapper. And I hate that his name is like blanking on me right now. And Josh Harris, there we go. Atlanta Falcons legend, probably the greatest player we've ever seen play in the Atlanta Falcons uniform. No one else comes close to the prowess that a Josh Harris at long snapper brings to the Atlanta Falcons. Is there a single player better in Atlanta Falcons history than Josh Harris at long snapper?
No, it's number one. Oh, at long snapper.
Yeah, he's a long snapper.
I thought you meant overall.
Oh no, overall is what I meant. But I was like,
he's number one, and then like there's like a big gap, and then it's Julio Jones and Michael Vick, like those guys.
I've heard some sources say that he might be the greatest player to ever touch the football field.
Rumor has it, yes.
Rumor has it. And the funny thing is, the guy wasn't even like a scholarship player. He was in a frat, and he kind of just like saw open tryouts for the position.
Respect.
And he just did that. And now he's a Pro Bowler and is getting paid millions of dollars to snap the ball far. And I love it. But yeah, Jacob, the player I'm talking about is Jacob Quattlebaum, who I believe was a first teamer at the long snapper position.
Yeah, he was.
And, long snapper you, baby, I could see Quattlebaum being like a day one guy, or he could probably fall later on, but I think he could be signed just because you can't miss out on a long snapper, man. The most important position on the field. You might say the quarterback, you might say the left tackle, but there's no better position than long snapper. All right. Who's going to get? No other person can get the ball to the punter. No other person can get the ball to the holder. There's not a more important position on the football field than the long snapper. And Jacob Quattlebaum, you know what? Throw Bryce Young out the window. Throw Will Anderson away. Throw Will Levis away. I think the Bears are going to be really missing out on a Jacob Quattlebaum level talent. But yeah, and to continue a conversation about Auburn football, that's not just me ramping on about how Jacob Quattlebaum is going to be the number one overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft. But this weekend is going to be pretty dadgum huge for the Auburn Tigers. It is Junior Day on the Plains, and it's going to be a huge weekend for the class 2024. Auburn has 15 prospects that are confirmed to be coming, and probably more.
It's going to be a huge weekend, Dylan. You know how whenever you get the little during the NFL draft, you get the doon. Carolina Panthers are on the clock. Give me the sound effect. The doon. Class of 2024, you are on the clock. We've got some dogs in this class, Dylan. In Alabama, this is a strong year. Last year, 23 was the strongest year we've seen in the state of Alabama in a long time. 24, huge year for Alabama yet again. Not quite as big as the 23s, but also loaded. Georgia's always loaded. Florida loaded. Mississippi State's got some. Not Mississippi State, but the state of Mississippi rather has some really, really good talent this year. And if you look, like I said, we've got 15 prospects coming that are all going to be 3 stars and better. So a lot of 4 stars are going to be on campus for sure. I've heard as many as 30. I've heard as few as 20. We're expecting well over 15 to be here visiting, or be in Auburn rather, visiting on the Plains and getting to know the coaching staff. And it really all begins with 4-star quarterback Amon Lane. He's already committed to Auburn. He's the first commit in the class of 2024. Just wanted to talk to you for a second, and Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong, and I want to get your thoughts here. How big of a deal, and you played ball growing up. I did not. So people frequently tell me I'm a ball not knower, which that's fine. But how big of a deal is it for Auburn to have a guy that's been committed to Freeze and company and has been committed to this university and is sold on the vision, being here around all these other guys that are prospective?
It's huge. I mean, we saw it with Jeremiah Cobb over the past season, really. There was no guy who was doing more for recruiting on social media than Jeremiah Cobb, except for maybe Trevon Reed.
What about Braden Joyner?
And Braden Joyner, yeah.
I was about to say, give my man Braden Joyner a little credit there.
But yeah, it's huge when you have one guy who's already all in on Auburn and the fan base and the football team and the coach. and you'd have all these guys who were coming and who were like slightly interested, but they have a guy who's in their class about to make the same decision they are, who is prepared to already hop on the field and play for this team. It's a huge motivator. There's no better recruit than the people that actually played for the school.
Agreed.
And want to play for the school.
I agree. I know what you meant. I agree. It's big time, and it really looks like Amon Lane could be that guy. He's not been super vocal yet, but we're really early into the 24 recruiting process. And him being able to make connections with guys that, mind you, Alabama's junior day is on Saturday. These guys decided to come to Auburn. That's first off, that's huge. That's a huge step in the right direction. Having Amon Lane there is never going to hurt making connections with the other 24s. I wanted to lead off here with a couple of guys that are probably on the College Loop's official commitment watch, and it's not just the College Loop. There's a lot of people that have them on their commitment watch. But starts with 4-star defensive back Jaden Lewis, plays corner typically. He's out of Anniston, so not far. Home state guy. Potential commitment this weekend. I think that he's got Auburn very high on his list. We'll find out more on his exit interview come Saturday or early Sunday morning. I think he could commit as early as Saturday afternoon. 4-star running back, Dylan, another running back, another 4-star guy running back out of Andalusia, Alabama.
Let's go.
Jamarian Burnett. He's on commitment watch. A lot of people tend to think that Auburn's extremely high on this group. Now, remember, these are 24s. The recruitment process and the officials are just now opening for these guys. So if Auburn doesn't get a slew of commitments this weekend, I don't think they will. I think we're looking at 2 or maybe 3. It's not the end of the world, but it could be a great starting point for getting these guys on campus and getting them in front of Freeze and Trevon Reed and Zach Etheridge and the laundry list of guys that Auburn fans wanted to talk to. Let's slide down to 4-star athlete DeMarcus Riddick. Now, this is an interesting one. Out of Chilton County, Alabama. Freeze and company already getting after it in terms of getting guys from in-state. I understand it's a little easier in terms of school and transportation, things of that nature. I get that. But getting after it in the state of Alabama and winning the recruiting battle in Alabama is huge. This is a guy that's already committed to the University of Georgia, and he chose to be at Auburn this weekend. Now, he's been a hard commit. He committed to Georgia in November. But Freeze has been getting after this kid. He went to his basketball game last week. He's been in close contact with his family. It sounds like this could be a guy that Auburn, this would be a huge flip. You saw in the 23s, you saw a handful of guys flip. You saw namingly Keldrick Falk. Now, I'm not saying that Florida State and Georgia are even close to the same playing field, but if you win a battle like this, and it's still very early in the recruiting cycle, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about DeMarcus Riddick going down the road, specifically because he's only from 45 minutes outside of Auburn come this season. But this could be a very big one for Auburn and a big turning point in this class if you can get him flipped early. Now, moving on to another guy that could be a flip. 4-star cornerback Zion Ferguson. He committed to LSU in September. So before football really started his junior year, sophomore year of high school. Junior year of high school. Hello. They're 24s. Hello. Junior year. He's got to visit, and he chose to be in Auburn despite committing to LSU. It sounds like Auburn was high on his board in the first place, and he wasn't very fond or didn't get the warm fuzzies from the last staff, which we basically heard from pretty much everyone not named Jeffrey Imba, that's kind of how that went down. And that's no shade being thrown at Jeffrey Imba. It just apparently he and Holden Jariner were recruited well by Harsin and company. That's just, they were the flukes. And I think that's a big one. And Dylan, are you starting to notice a trend that Freeze is loading up on a certain, he's stacking his chips in places that he was already building on hard this year?
Yeah.
I mean, look at this. So far, DeMarcus Riddick plays both ways of the ball. He's primarily a DB. You've got a cornerback, a defensive back, so two corners. DeMarcus Riddick, 3 corners. Zion Ferguson, 4 corners, and a running back. Do you think that Hugh Freeze is serious about getting this secondary right?
I think he is very serious about getting the secondary right. I mean, we already talked about how this secondary is already freaking loaded on people. Because after DJ James and Neem, I'm pretty sure go to the draft next year. Who's stepping up? Austin Osbury, JD Rhyme,
Kindly,
and and those guys won't even be draft eligible yet. Come the time these guys come up, so Auburn's going to be like 4 or 5 deep.
Can you imagine a world? Now, this is like these guys uncommitted. Some of them committed other places, but could you imagine a world where we're talking about the DB room and going, man, I hope that kid's willing to take a red shirt.
It would be a whole new look for this Auburn football team,
A
especially if
whole new world.
when you look at Zion Ferguson. Auburn has already Harsin flipped a defensive back from LSU before. Austin
Yes.
Osbury got flipped from LSU, and I think if you can flip another guy from the DBU, I think you starting to make.
Does that make you DBU part 2? Question mark.
I feel like Auburn's not in the top 3 of that discussion, but I feel like they're very slowly making a huge case that maybe we should be taken serious as a DBU contender.
Now, I want to keep in mind. I want to reiterate, like, you're not going to get all these guys. That's probably just not going to happen. If it does, oh my god, crap. But we're not even halfway. We're halfway through this list, and I'm going to keep moving quick. I don't want to spend too much time on any guy, but I wanted to hit the high points about guys that we're very interested in. I think we're very interested in Auburn. Clearly, these between Zion Ferguson and DeMarcus Riddick, those guys are serious about being interested in Auburn. Otherwise, they wouldn't come despite being committed. So that's a big one. Here's one that I think is just interesting. 4-star wide receiver Cameron Coleman out of Central Phoenix City. Now, let's think about the lack thereof of success Auburn has had in Central Phoenix City, in the Phoenix City, Columbus area as of the past 4 or 5 years. Everybody's talking about it. It's not just me. It's not just Rivals. It's not just On3. It's not just 24/7. The lineage of what should feel like a pipeline school, right, has not been there. Did the Darren Reed signing just maybe break a curse? Because it sounds like Cameron Coleman's seriously interested in Auburn.
Starting to sound like it. I'm looking at Cameron Coleman's build right now. 6'3", 175. I assume he's gonna put on some weight.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's a pretty good build. And a funny thing, or a good thing I've been noticing, Anniston, Andalusia, Chilton County, Central Phoenix City, and this list goes on and on. From
Lock down the guys that are at home.
Auburn has been struggling to win the state of Alabama. I can't remember the last time Auburn won the state of Alabama, but
it would have had to have been under Tubbs,
because we've been losing. Bama it's obvious it's Bama, but we've been losing like big time recruits to Georgia, Florida State, Tennessee. Like, these guys are not sold on the other team in Alabama. Like, it's like, okay, if Bama don't want us, then we're just gonna go out of state. But
right.
You looking at this list, and Anniston, Andalusia, Chilton County, Central Phoenix City. Guy I'm going to talk about in a little bit. There he is. Trent Seaborn from Thompson.
Thompson alert.
Like, Hugh Freeze is setting in motion the fact that he doesn't just want to like bring in all of these talented players. I mean, he does, but he also is putting in motion. There's a team on the other side of the state who has been kicking over Auburn in recruiting for years. And Hugh Freeze is tired of it. He's trying to win the state of Alabama recruiting-wise. And that's first key to taking over the state. I mean,
if you look at coaches that have dynasties, I'm not putting Freeze on that pedestal, and I'm going to be quick here, but like, look at what Kirby Smart did. He won Georgia. Look what Nick Saban did. He won Alabama and started competing in border states. Let's look at even Ed Orgeron, won Louisiana. Like, just look at these championship pedigrees. The Ohio States of the world. I mean, these are brands that will pull from anywhere, right? But they win Ohio, they win Pennsylvania, they win their pipeline states. It's such a big deal to win. Even if you're not going to win it, even if you're not going to beat out Nick Saban for all of them, it's important to have a serious competition in your state, specifically in the state of Alabama, where there's no state that's more competitive in college football than the state of Alabama. It's a statement of fact. High school football, different story, but you know what I mean. Than Alabama, it's just a really big deal. Now, that being said, our next guy is from Gainesville, Georgia. But I did want to talk. Zion Ferguson's from Gainesville, Georgia, but a lot of other great examples. And Cameron Coleman, getting him from Central Phoenix City. I don't know if you remember, but not that long ago, one Carmelo English decided he was not going to be with Auburn University because he didn't feel like he was getting the respect he deserved from the coaching staff prior. And to be fair, Coach Malzahn didn't do that well from Central Phoenix City either, and all they do is pump out talent.
I mean, a lot of the big name recruits that Gus Malzahn brought in never really panned out. We talk about the 5 stars that a lot of them.
I'm not talking about big name recruits panning out, Dylan. I'm talking about winning recruiting battles.
Well, I know, But a lot of those guys, it comes down to that. It's like, oh well, Gus is not really
Well, let me
going to
tell you
develop me.
let me tell you another pipeline neighboring state that you're going to be competing with some other schools for once this guy gets his 4th star, because I think he's a 3-star right now, and he's got the greatest name in this class so far. Front runner for our favorite name. His full name, and he goes by his full name, is John Wayne Oliver.
It's beautiful.
That's incredible. John Wayne is arguably my favorite name thus far. Now I'm immense. I can't wait to find one that'll top that, because that means that name's gonna be really good, Dylan.
6'5", 275. His profile picture on 24/7 is him actually wearing an Auburn football shirt.
Correct. So John Wayne Oliver was offered by Freeze at Liberty, and his list of offers is not super impressive right now, but I think he'll be at least a very high 3-star. It's hard to grade offensive linemen in high school. It's just tough. He's really been in close contact with Coach Freeze. He's been impressed with Hugh from the get-go. He wants his commitment to be official before his first game of his senior year. This is a guy that if in the short turnaround, February's dead period, but we could see if he's really impressed this weekend. He already said he doesn't think he would commit on the spot this weekend, but he said if Auburn hits a home run, that could, quote, change things. This, which, I mean, at some point right now, you're still in the get bodies phase. You're not necessarily, it's quantity right now in terms of longevity for recruiting. I think this is a quality guy, though. And clearly Freeze likes him. This is a guy that we could see recruits commit as early as March.
Yeah, I'm going to get back on my little soapbox for a second. It is going to be a war crime if we don't get a single recruiting picture of him
And
with
a cowboy
hat and a holster.
One of those like 6-shooter Nerf pistol revolvers would be awesome.
Exactly. If we can't get that, it's a sham. Like why are we even recruiting a guy named John Wayne?
And I
hat?
need a video, and it needs to be like, da-da-da.
He already has the mullet. He's not going to reject the cowboy hat.
And it's gorgeous.
We missed out on one mullet, and we picked up another mullet.
Here's a fun last name for you. 3-star offensive tackle Chase Malamala. He will be in attendance. That's your last of the rankings that I are for sure. We'll have a list come Saturday, and we'll recap that on the Sunday episode along with the men's basketball game. This is a huge weekend. There's a couple of uncommitted, unranked guys for now that I wanted to mention. I'm gonna butcher the crap out of.
Yeah, I cannot wait to hear you say this name.
Out of Mackay, I'm gonna say Morale.
I think it's Morrow.
Defensive tackle. He's 6'5", 350. His offers include Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, among 18 others for now, including Auburn. This guy, per Christian Clemente, should be in town this weekend. I fully expect, Dylan, that he'll be a 3-star coming at the beginning of his junior year, if nothing else from offers alone. So that's an interesting one. Are you going to do the dictation on it?
Oh, I was just trying to find him. Again, I remember you sent me his stuff, but yeah, 6'5". I was trying to find his 24/7. Did you is he from Hampton, Georgia? Yeah, that's him. You said his name really wrong because you spelled it wrong in the rundown.
Did I actually?
It is Micah Borau.
Borau, excuse me, I'm sorry.
But yeah, 6'5", 350 pounds. I preach it every time we talk about big boys. I love the big boys up front. And I don't think you can get much bigger than that. I don't think you can.
He might try.
I mean, we've had a Prince Tega come through, but he was at least 6'7" and like 290. This dude's 6'5", 350.
Yeah, no kidding.
Also, can I mention the fact that it's so funny to me that all the 6'5", like plus 300-pound plus defensive tackle, all the good ones are like baby-faced. Derek Brown and Jordan Davis were both baby-faced. This dude's baby-faced. So I already know he's going to be good.
Yes. So wait, hang on. Here's a fun piece for you. We're about to go from 6'5", 350, all right, to 6'0", 170. Auburn needs a punter in this class, Dylan, and they're going to have one on campus this weekend. Mason Love out of, Park Hill South High School in Riverside, Missouri. That's just something to keep an eye on. Auburn's got to get a punter in this class, just because the land down under is running out of punters, apparently.
So it's gonna be a hard grab to get a punter who can do Auburn as well as Oscar Chapman has over the past few years.
And before him, Aaron Sipos,
yes, who is popping off in the NFL.
Aaron Sipos, the land down under. Two other guys I wanted to talk about super quick, and then we'll wrap this thing up and send it out. But it's a big weekend, so I did want to spend some time on junior day. 2025 4-star. Now, I know this. We're talking about 24s, but we're talking about a 5-star right now. A 2025 4-star that could be a 5-star by his senior year. This is a guy that is going to be on campus along with the juniors this weekend. His name's Antoine Hill. He's out of Houston County, Georgia. It's Houston in Alabama. It's Houston in Georgia. Houston County, Georgia, is going to be in front of Auburn coaches for the first time this weekend. No Auburn offer yet, but serious family ties and connections in his past. Sounds like he's very interested in joining Auburn in 2025. So that's a big one. Even bigger than that, shockingly, there's an 8th grader that's going to be on town this weekend, on campus this weekend. 2027 quarterback Trent Seaborn. If you've not heard of Trent Seaborn, you should. Kid is the truth. Got the job done. Was it 5 tutties in the state championship game with Thompson?
Oh yeah.
And he's going to be visiting Auburn this weekend. He, like I said, put on a clinic in the state championship game as an 8th grader, and he apparently is a huge Auburn guy. So
it's gonna be really funny to watch some Auburn fans have to cheer for him in a couple of years.
right. Just like tears running down their face.
Like, dang it, man! Why'd you gotta come here? I wanted to root against you so bad.
Honestly, you should just get more familiar with the town and transfer to Auburn High School.
Maybe. But I do really like this Antoine Hill guy. It's 6'5", 215. I'm assuming he's a dual threat.
Dual threat, yes.
6'5" and dual threat? Dude.
Stop it. We're not going to talk about 6'5" dual threats right now.
He's 215. I'm not going to compare him to Cam Newton. Cam Newton has 40 pounds on this guy.
Yeah.
But, with a well-balanced diet, you too can be the next Cam Newton.
2 big name quarterbacks on. I can't believe that the biggest quarterback I think that's going to be there this weekend is Trent Seaborn. That's unreal to me, unless some 2024 that we're not expecting shows up. The
biggest quarterback is the 5'11", 170 kid who can't drive himself there.
I was thinking about that earlier. His mom's got to drive him.
This guy's class 2025 actually. Oh well, okay, Antoine 2025. I didn't catch that. So he's a sophomore.
I literally said that.
I wasn't listening.
Yeah.
I was looking him up.
Antoine can maybe drive himself. Trent Seaborn's parents are going to have to drive him to Auburn.
It's so funny to think about that. We are hyping up a kid who can't drive yet.
Like, don't get me wrong. All these
that's how good he is.
Don't get me wrong. All these kids' parents are definitely coming with him. But like, it's really funny that he doesn't have an option.
Yeah, I think the other kids can get dropped off and go on the visit themselves. They probably won't because they need to have parental advice.
Right.
A lot of those things. But I don't think he's allowed on campus by himself. It's like, well, all these other guys can get dropped off, but Trent, I'm sorry.
Right. That's the highlights for Junior Day on Saturday. And Dylan, I'm just going to close it with this and let you kind of wrap it up and throw a nice little bow on things. This is, I think, arguably bigger than 2022's Big Cat Weekend. And you know how big of a deal Big Cat Weekend is in Auburn. It's really where you get your guys. And we'll have the 2024's installment of that in July. If you think that this weekend's that a little preview for this weekend was long, just wait till Big Cat Weekend rolls around. We're probably going to have a multi-day special on it. I'm not kidding. Especially with the work that Friesen Company are going to get to do with this class being the first entire length class that they're going to have to work with. Dylan, I'll let you go ahead and start it off, or I guess I can just go and plug, and you can plug and get out of here. What do you say?
That works for me.
I'm Harrison Tarr by Harrison Tarr on Twitter. You can look up any of my names. I pop up pretty much on every other social media. If you're looking for my written work, first off, thank you. And I appreciate you. That is at the Auburn Daily. You can also catch me on the Auburn Daily Show every Wednesday and Friday. Wednesday with Dylan Larck, Friday with Lindsey Crosby for the happy hour. We call it the happy hour. Bring a little adult bevy on the show and have a good time talking ball there. Dylan gets the privilege of chatting it up with one Lance Daw on Monday. I'm not saying I'm jealous. I'm just saying I'm jealous. Love me some Lance. Dylan, I'll let you plug it and let's get out of here. Thank you guys for listening to The Loop.
Yeah, as he said, you can catch me on the Auburn Daily every Monday and Wednesday. Monday with Lance Daw, and of course Wednesday with Harrison Tarr, who we end up recording double shows on Wednesday, which is always fun.
It's a good time.
Yeah, I think we also record on Friday. No, we don't record on Fridays for College Loop.
No, but we definitely spent between the Loop and the Auburn Daily Show and on the phone today. We've definitely spent 3 hours together.
Yeah. So, follow College Loop on all platforms except for MySpace. That is Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. That is at the College Loop. And you can also catch me tweeting at people all the time on my Twitter at your boy the Tank. That is YABOY the Tank. With that being said, it's been the Call of Duty podcast.